Welcome everybody to another episode of the He's on Fire podcast. A little surprise episode today. A very not sort of last minute, but we did throw it together the last couple of hours. A lot of stuff to talk about. We haven't talked about a lot of things that have been happening around the league, and especially with what's going on with the Phoenix Suns and their last four preseason games. Their fifth one is tomorrow in Palm Desert, so we're going to talk a little bit of that. And then, we're just going to talk about a few other opinions across the NBA sphere about their opinions on the Phoenix Suns and what we think about them. And before we get any further in, Amit, how are you doing, dude? What's going on? Let us all know.
Yeah, man, I'm doing all right. Doing all right, man. Just, waiting for the season to start. It's been a downer for the Cardinals, but we got Kyler back. Here we go.
Yep.
And, D-backs been a rough start. I mean, I think the expectations were a little bit high for us as a fan base. But, when I came in, I'm like, look, man, we got this far. Let's see what happens. We'll see what happens tomorrow. We could talk about the keys to how they can win at least one game in this series.
Yeah, the Diamondbacks have been a pleasant surprise as of late. The Milwaukee wild card round was very exciting to watch. We really handled business in that, and then sweeping the Dodgers, sweeping any LA team or beating any LA team as the little brother to California, Arizona sports. It was a sight to see. Shout out John Voida from the Suns Jam Session. Fuck the Dodgers. So we roll deep with that message here. But with this series against the Phillies, I had a sneaky suspicion that the Phillies were just going to come out swinging, no pun intended. They're just as hot as the Diamondbacks are. Bryce Harper and Turner and the rest of that bullpen are just banging on all cylinders. And hopefully tomorrow we can figure some things out. I hate how the game is at 2:00 Arizona time tomorrow. And some people were complaining about how low the tickets were, which I never knew that was an issue. But
I think the people are complaining are the people that are just hating, dude. Because if you're a fan, honestly, when I saw it was you can get there for $15, I kind of scratched my head and said maybe I could pull this off but the problem is I'm going to Vegas this weekend, so I'm like I can't do it.
Oh, nice.
I can't do it. But
you going for business or pleasure?
No, I'm actually going for a basketball tournament. I'm playing a basketball tournament.
Oh, word, dude.
Yeah.
Man, fucking balling out here. But the Diamondbacks have been a very fun to watch, but this Philly series isn't off to a good start. Best of 7. I was a little worried about us sitting as long as we did, waiting for this next round to start. So I think we'll play better in Game 3 tomorrow. But we're playing from behind, and we just got to figure out the whole pitching situation because it was the second and third innings in both games that just opened the game completely for the Phillies, and they were just playing with house money.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, going back to Game 2, Merrill Kelly, he should have finished that inning at least.
I agree.
There's no way they should have pulled him out of that. He was giving up solo bombs. That's fine. Obviously we weren't scoring any runs. That was the problem. Because if you look at the perspective of, let's say we got back 2 of those runs. What's up, Westville? If we got back a couple of those runs and we're sitting at 3-2, you don't need to pull them. But that's what Torey Lovullo has been doing. This playoffs is he's been pulling his pitchers early, and I'd like him to just at least give Merrill Kelly a chance to finish because our bullpen is up and down. It's been all season. So it's in a situation like that, to force Mantiply to get that last out there, that was dumb. That wasn't smart at all. So, But keys to this game, they got to start going back to how they played against the Dodgers, where they were not taking the first pitch, meaning don't try to hit a home run, don't try to get on base on the first pitch, just kind of wait, feel it out, foul it off, build up the count, and then get the pitch that you need. And a lot of these guys.
Just get the base.
Tommy Pham, Corbin Carroll, they're not Ketel to a certain degree. They're not doing what they did against the Dodgers, and they need to do that. And so I don't know who the pitcher is for the Phillies. I'm honestly this is the first time I've been watching baseball in 5 years, dude.
Same.
So much has changed since the last time I watched. It's like crazy, dude. Like they wear that glove thing. Like I never knew about that.
Is that a slider glove?
Yeah, slider glove.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's so they don't like hurt their fingers or something. I guess I don't know. And then there's all sorts of other weird changes that I saw, but I mean that was one of them. And I think they just got to get a lead early. They cannot fall behind because if our bullpen has to pitch like 8 innings or something, we're screwed. We're totally screwed. We can go with the bullpen pitching like 6 innings if we have a lead, but if we're down and they have to pitch a lot of innings, we're screwed.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I do want to give props to the Phillies. I mean, they've been very exciting this playoff run as well. Bouncing the Braves, I knew once that happened, I was like, yeah, we're definitely in for a fight. So let's go into Game 3 tomorrow, make it a fight, and when's the next game after Game 3? Friday?
I think it's Friday. Yeah.
Friday. Okay. I mean, we can tie this up by the weekend. So, let's just, hit it hard and get our shit together because last game was abysmal,
Yeah.
Being down 10-0, and then the game before, what was the final score? Like 5-2?
5-3. I think it was 5-3.
5-3.
I mean, they answered back like they do. They answered back. So they got those runs back, but I feel like I don't think the Phillies are pitching as good as like the announcers are saying they're doing. I think the Diamondbacks are swinging at stupid pitches more than anything else. And like a lot of these guys do that. Like Alec Thomas does that consistently. Christian Walker does that consistently. Like a lot of these guys do, but we need to make some changes. I think you got to switch out Evan Longoria and get maybe somebody in there, that can do something different. So, I know they had they switched. I forget the third baseman's name that they switched out that he pinch hit for. Maybe that guy starts. I don't know. Maybe Jordan Lawler starts. But we need something different. We need to change it. We've been rocking with the same lineup for like 7 or 8 straight games now. We need to change it up.
Yeah, I agree. In other news, just today, it was announced that Kyler Murray and Budda Baker are being lifted off of the PUP list. So they should be back in the next couple of weeks, I'm guessing, against the Texans. That's my sneaky suspicion. I'm very excited. Josh Dobbs has done a fantastic job for what we were sort of looking for. He did everything that we've asked him to do. To be a backup QB, I'm not expecting, win after win. We've been in just about every game. It's just the talent levels between us and the next team. I mean, the disparity is huge. Even with the Rams, I thought we had a fighting chance with the Rams, but as soon as they started running the ball, I mean, we had no answer for it. So with Kyler coming back, with Budda coming back, we get our ball hog back, and then we get, our franchise QB back, which is going to be huge because Dobbs has been missing on, these long throws that Kyler makes with his eyes closed and stuff. And if Hollywood, secures those handful of catches and touchdowns, potential touchdowns, these last few games, we're probably looking at, a pretty favorable record. But I digress. With Kyler coming back is absolutely huge. I have a gut feeling that he's going to be as good as we've seen him, if not better, in the next upcoming weeks when he gets some practice underneath his belt. But what are your thoughts about these two guys coming back? Is there a 500 record in the future this season?
I haven't looked at the schedule, but I know this was the beginning part of the schedule was the toughest part that we had. And getting through that 1-5 when we really should have won 2 other games. So we should be, 3-3, but that's because we just didn't have the quarterback play. And like you said, like there's throws that Dobbs made that were great, but there was like players that he missed that Kyler would have gotten him to. And Dobbs honestly is at his best when he's a runner. Like he has proven that since the first game of the season against the Cowboys, like there's just even some of the plays against the Rams when he was running the ball. Like it's not his instinct to run the ball the way that Kyler does. And like that's
Right.
just a huge like X factor in the game is when Kyler going to take off on a run. And we want to see Kyler healthy. You know, I heard Ron Wolfley say today that maybe like there's a small chance that Kyler could come back this week. There's no way he's coming back this week, but without like full contact. But like, yeah, I mean, when is the Texans game? You said?
Let me look real quick. The Texans game. That's November 19th. But we play the Seahawks this weekend and then the Ravens after. I mean, I can see us coming back against the Browns November 5th.
I don't know about that defense,
At home.
Bro. I don't know about that defensive line. Do you want Kyler against him?
Maybe the Ravens game because that's at home. So I can definitely see the 29th being his first game back.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's probably the earliest. We'll see him.
Yeah.
And the Ravens are a tough matchup, but the Ravens are a weird team because they always are strong, but they always fall apart. And you kind of go ahead and go, well, is Lamar really good? Is their defense really good? Do they have receivers? Like that sort of thing. It's always like the same question marks around the Ravens. So like, I'm just wondering if it's a good chance for him to come back in that game, given that I think the defense will be up for that game, especially if hopefully Buddha's back by then. Because any secondary help we can get right now, especially like a Pro Bowl player, is like significant, dude. Our secondary is getting washed every week.
Yeah. Marco Wilson has not looked good, man.
No,
not at all.
And I don't think it's an indictment on his ability. I think he's been getting put into a position where he's CB1, right?
Yeah,
and that's not what he can be. He's a slot guy.
Yeah,
and Clark is a rookie, right? And so we're missing a corner, and we have Jalen Thompson, and but you know he can only help. He can't cover man on unless it's like 5 wide or something like that. It's a different situation for him. So yeah, I mean, I still believe in this team. I think depending on how we do in the games where Kyler doesn't come back, there's a potential for us to get to 500, assuming that everybody starts getting healthy. And I think some players are starting to come back on the defensive side of the ball that we're missing, which we need. But it's really game plan, because I like sometimes that Dallas Cowboys game was like the perfect game plan. Like the perfect storm, right? Against a really good defense. Like our offense did enough. And I think Jamar Chase matched up against Marco Wilson. What's up, Specs? Is like we're gonna fail every time at that. Like no one, like if you put somebody like Marco Wilson on Jamar Chase, you're gonna get smoked. And that's what happened.
Yeah.
And the problem this week going against the Seahawks is Witherspoon. He's he's elite. He's like great. Revis Island elite.
Yeah.
And so if you put him on Hollywood, I mean, we haven't seen Michael Wilson in like 2 weeks. Like, where's Michael Wilson? Is he even playing? Is he healthy?
Yeah, we can't get him the ball. Yeah.
And he was, and then like Rondale Moore, like, can we stop like giving him the ball in the backfield? Can we get him vertically on the field somehow? Even if you're giving him as a running back, like, why do you have to do an end around every time? Like, it's not working. So I don't know, man. I'm glad I didn't go to the Rams games this year, because I just had a feeling, with the team, I'm like, you know what, I'm not going to go, and I'm glad I didn't go.
Yeah, push it out, because let me see when the next Rams game is. It's probably here, huh? Yeah. Yeah. So, but I see a lot of promise with this team. To get to 800 or 500. Starting from 1-5 would be an absolute win for this team going forward. We're gonna have top 15 picks anyway the next draft. I'm totally cool with that, and I think the playbook is really gonna unravel what Drew Petzing has in mind for Kyler, and there's a lot of what we ran with Dobbs that Kyler can do in his sleep, and the offensive line has been great. We're one of the best teams with preventing sacks and having pocket time per pass as well. So when it comes to just the front line, the Cardinals have been pretty on top of that, and that's something we haven't seen since we've gotten Kyler Murray. And he can absolutely thrive if you just give him the time to get comfortable and throw off the back foot and not be on the run every play, and him trying to be
yeah,
a superhero.
and honestly,
Yeah.
the plays where Dobbs is getting crushed in the backfield are predictable plays. It's like 3rd and 11, and you need to make a throw.
Looking like Barber's out of town.
I mean, it's just like, like I already see the difference between Cliff Kingsbury and Drew Petzing. Like, there's a big difference. Like,
it's night and day. Yeah.
Like, it's just like we're doing things that make more sense. But again, I'll say there's a lot of dumb things that we're doing. Some play calls. Let me go back to the last game. We go 4th and 1, get that offensive penalty, go 4th and 5. We still go for it out of field goal range, but close to the 50-yard line. Why didn't we go for it at the end of the second quarter when it was 4th and 1 or 4th and 3, something like that? When we're right at the goal line. If we're going there, why aren't we going here? Same situation. And I know it's all analytics, and the analytics will tell them you don't do this or you don't do that. But I'm like, as long as you're not doing a Cliff Kingsbury sort of play, like, you should be able to get this play with Josh Dobbs and his legs, or some sort of Rondale more misdirection play. You know what I mean? So, I'm not. And again, these are really young coordinators and coaches, so they're going to have to learn from their mistakes. But they're already improved from what we had last year.
Yeah, 100%. I've been a big fan of the play calling, what I've seen from Drew Petzing, and just the overall direction for the offense. I like what I've been seeing. There's been some offensive creativity, and I really haven't been able to predict most plays, which I was able to do with the Cliff Kingsbury, system. Like it was the same fucking 4 plays. So I'm really happy to see where this team is at. Yeah, despite the record, but a lot of promising stuff, and I can't wait to see Kyler and Buddha back in the mix, because once you throw those 2 guys back in, who knows what's gonna happen, and we can only go up from here. We got our win against the Cowboys, and that was huge. So let's just get into the nitty gritty of this pod, what I've been looking forward to talking to you with. And Evan had a baby. He's busy. He will be here soon, at the top of the season. But yeah, dude, the Phoenix Suns, we've watched 4 preseason games. They're 3-1. They play against the Lakers tomorrow in Palm Desert. From the Detroit game to the last Portland game, what have been your thoughts of this Phoenix Suns team, the 2023-2024 Phoenix Suns?
Yeah, so full disclosure, like, I have not watched all the games. I watched the first half of the first game against Detroit, and then I watched the highlights and various different types of highlights of certain players, and then sort of like gone backwards on like what people have said. I'll say this, like, the defensive intensity is, and I don't know if this was like made a point in the preseason, but it's like a lot more than you see in a preseason game. Like, I remember like back in the Steve Nash era, like there was like no defense. There was like no effort either side of the field. It was like really like the guys that were trying to make roster spots were the ones that were just trying to go hero ball. Here, it's like there seems to be some connection on defense, and it's not just in like the defensive side of the ball, but in transition. That's what I noticed. I think that there's a lot more, and I think that we're going to see this team try to push the ball and get easy buckets. And when you have 3 guys at the level that of playmaking ability and scoring capability from all 3 levels that the Suns have, it's just going to open the floor for everybody else. And we saw like Grayson Allen making plays, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, defensively and offensively, blocking shots coming down, hitting a 3 or stealing the ball at half court, turning around, making a sick ass like drive and dish to, was it Eubanks or whoever it was that he dropped it off to? Bradley Beal did. And then just Devin Booker pulling up and just launching from 3. Like I remember talking with Evan Sidery on Twitter like many years ago when the Suns sucked, and we were just like, if Devin Booker ever figures out how to hit a pull-up 3, this shit's over. He's taking like 8 per 36 minutes right now.
Yeah.
8 pull-up threes per 36 minutes. If he does that, he's going to average more than 30 points a game. If he shoots at 35% or higher, I don't know how you beat this team. I really don't. And I just we'll talk about this in comparison to other teams. And I've been listening to a lot of like other podcasts that I respect preview the Suns and other teams. And I just think I don't think it's disrespect. I think there's just a lack of knowledge. How do you not understand how this team was assembled? Like, the coach is Frank Vogel. He's a defensive-minded coach, but he's open-minded. He's innovative. And, like, yes, okay, there's questions about Nurkic and his health.
Yeah.
Last season, I mean, he's missed a lot of games over the last 4 years. I'll say this. Last season, he was sitting games. So you can't even consider that as to be what, like, his normal, average games per season would be. Saying that, too, he's got a lot of rest over the last year. So, and he's not asked to do as much as he did with Dame, setting high pick and rolls and then double screening for other ball handlers off of that, or just being like the roll man and being the secondary scorer here. He doesn't have to do any of that. He just needs to set a screen and move out the way, or push the ball up the court, get the ball and from the high post and figure out how to get it to Booker or Durant or Beal. So, like, I'm not concerned about Nurkic. And I'll say this too. He's got something about him that he's figured out Joker's game. Like, if you watch the highlights and if you even go back to the Suns, that game where he dunked on him, he knows something about Joker. They're from the Balkans. Like, there's something between him where he's just, there's like that one guy that knows your game, even though he sucks. You're like, how does he know how I do everything? He just figured it out. He knows Joker's game. He's not going to get him every time, but he can at least have some way to present an opportunity to stop him, or minimize the damage. I'll say that. But the rest of this team, I feel like, yeah, it's pretty well assembled. And I know I have my Suns glasses on, but I just look at this roster and I go, yeah, we don't have a point guard, but we don't need a point guard. And if you go back to that Nets team, did they have is Kyrie really a point guard? Like, I don't think he is.
I always viewed him as one, but in college, he was a point guard. But...
Okay, but if you say that, then wouldn't you say Harden? Harden has basically been playing point too for the last decade, right?
Yeah.
So
he was a shooting guard in OKC.
Right, that's the last time. Ever since then, he's like a de facto point guard. So, would you rather have Bradley Beal or Devin Booker as your point guard, or Kyrie Irving, Luka Doncic, or James Harden as your point guard?
Book and Beal.
Yeah. Because they're not playing into that style of play that just isolates and draws fouls and takes everybody else out of the game. And they're movement players. They'll give the ball up and move, and they're movement shooters. And I think Jordan Goodwin, he's built from that same cloth of like a Javon Carter, right? Or the old school campaign, the campaign from the bubble campaign, right? Just like, he's a dog, and I love it. Offensively, I don't know what I've seen that I'm happy about or that I'm confident about, but at least if he's on the floor defensively, I'm happy with it. I don't know if he's a catch and shoot 3 guy though.
I don't think he is either.
No.
I think stats back that up. He's not.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Yeah, dude. I absolutely love this team. It is super balanced. I've been arguing with people for the last few weeks about the structure of this team, through YouTube comments and Twitter and stuff. It just blows my mind how people just don't they see this roster, and they, even before the Nurkic trade, they still thought that we lacked in depth. Before we got Grayson Allen, before we made the center change, before we got Nasir Little, which I don't know exactly what he's going to bring. We'll talk about him in a bit. But because of the Nurkic trade, everybody said we got much needed depth. I pushed back on that because, one, we got the steal of the summer with Eric Gordon. If he would have went to any other contender, imagine if he would have went to the Nuggets
or the Bucks.
or the Bucks. The Bucks absolutely would have loved Eric Gordon.
Yeah.
We got the steal of the summer, and we've seen the last, the 3 games that he played. Like, he's absolutely brilliant. He's not missed a step. And people act like he's a defensive liability. All I see is a defensive plus,
Yes.
And I know he's matching up against a young, rebuilding Trailblazer team. I know he's going against a young, rebuilding Pistons team, and like so on and so forth. I get it, but these are NBA players at the end of the day. And I've seen Eric Gordon. I've watched Eric Gordon his whole career. He's always been always been this guy. He's a scrappy defender. He can shoot from anywhere, and he doesn't give a fuck. He'll finish around the rim. We got the steal this summer with Eric Gordon. We got the best 3-point shooter of last year, Yuta Watanabe, that just doesn't seem like he misses a fucking shot. He's on
from corner.
Nice,
He doesn't.
The corner, he's lethal. He's 52% last year, and I think he's at 54 right now in the preseason. Yeah. And like now he has like this midi game I didn't even consider, and like he has this finesse, 10 feet out. And then Drew Banks, he's been great being the backup center. He has not been a defensive liability. He's been scrappy. He's been getting to the line. Our centers have been getting to the line. This whole team has been getting to the line, crashing the board. In the playoffs last year, we were ranked last in getting to the rim and is scoring in the paint. We were dead last. And we're also second to last in playoff teams last year in 3-point shooting. And I think we were bottom 3 last out of the whole league last year in 3-point shots and makes. And we've increased those numbers tremendously just in these first 4 preseason games. And this is just going to be a continuous thing.
So two things that you said that stood out. So one thing that I think is going to be hopefully something that we see for the whole season. One, Bradley Beal is not settling for the mid-range or threes. He's going to the rim. He'll take the open shots when he gets them, but we need him going to the rim. Devin Booker, pull up, lethal. That's what we need. Him to just start taking that 3-point shot off the rip. If we do those things, I don't know how you stop this team in the regular season. Forget about I don't know how you stop this team in the postseason because they get even more lethal in the mid-range.
Yeah.
But just those 2 things happening creates so much opportunity for everybody else on the court. And I know it's probably going to average out because the preseason, obviously it's very few games and it's not like typical basketball. But if they continue this, this is going to be a great trend for the Suns because we're just, like you said, we're getting more free throws than we never gotten, which is a big plus for this team. Devin Booker taking a pull-up 3 and hitting that versus spending the energy to get to the midi and doing all the crazy stuff that he does just to pull off a mid-range jumper. I would I want to see. I love when he does that because that's my favorite part of his game is when he just works people in the mid range and does the up and unders and does the turnarounds and does the one handers off the glass and gets the and ones. But if he's just taking a 3 and that's all the energy he has to spend, and he's playing defense, I love it.
3 is better than 2. Yeah. And it seems like our 3 stars already have an understanding about what the roles are going to be. KD is going to abuse mismatches and, he's going to get to his spots and he's not going to force it because he has a plethora of talent around him. And Book is just going to attack as much as possible. And he's going to take he's going to take whatever is given to him. And same thing with Beal. There's already understanding there. And I've already seen people talk about they're seeing the offense being your turn, my turn. I have not seen a lick of that. I just see getting matchup opportunities when you match Beal up with a not good perimeter center or just a not good wing. You abuse mismatches. That's how you score points on a regular. Just watch any NBA game. Because these 3 guys are passing to each other doesn't mean it's your turn, my turn type shit. It's been incredibly frustrating listening to the narratives around this team, but I want to get back to the depth of this team in general because we're at worst A deep, and that's That's how it works.
That's if like okay,
Yeah.
so if you say that, that's saying that Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Bradley Beal all, and maybe Nurkic, maybe those guys all miss in the range of somewhere like 20 games each. Right? Like that's like worst case scenario.
Yeah. We're literally at worst we're eight players deep, which that
I thought you said 8 seed.
A lot better than what the
Nuggets.
Nuggets.
8 seed. Sorry.
Oh no, 8 seed. Yeah, no, 8 deep. So like even if injuries are like a concern, as long as we have two superstars out on the court, I think we're going to be just fine in the regular season. I think we're able to, have some balance with this whole thing. But Grayson Allen, he's brought some fucking dog, he was good in Milwaukee. And I just haven't seen him previous to that just because, I'm not watching Memphis ball like that. I'm not watching Utah ball like that. But Grayson Allen, he's been great, and he's solidified himself being in the regular rotation.
Well, he was a starter the last 2 years for the Bucks.
Yeah, and he was solid, and he got a bunch of shit for that that elimination game because he was hanging on to the ball or whatever. But I didn't necessarily blame him for that shit. Drew Holiday didn't take an initiative. Chris Middleton didn't either. Giannis was pinned down. And, Grayson, he had the ball. He didn't necessarily know what to do. Luckily, Grayson doesn't need to be in that situation because there isn't going to be double sent at this team.
Well, he's not going to get the ball.
It's going to come he's to not. Him. Yeah.
Yeah, he comes to him if he's wide open and nobody else has a shot, or it's off an offensive rebound or something. But,
exactly.
I mean, look, dude. I don't like starting before he did his press stuff with the Suns. I didn't like the guy at all. Obviously, for a lot of the stuff that he did. I put him in that Dylan Brooks, Pat Beverly. If this guy was on the other team, obviously I hate him. If he was on the Suns, I'd probably hate him even more. But after understanding a little bit more, he's gotten older. I think you got to go back and think about JJ Redick was a similar player. People hated JJ Redick.
Yeah.
And I love him. I love JJ Redick.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
More of his podcast than anything else, but I think there's room to grow, and room to change, and I think he's doing that. With Dylan Brooks and Pat Beverly, those fools are they're that's their identity. They have nothing else to offer. That's it.
Yeah, but Grayson Allen, he's definitely been one of the many standouts with this team so far, as well as Drew Banks, Jordan Goodwin. We have two defensive dogs that we can just unleash at any given notice, and I think I'm not sold on Goodwin's offensive game. We just haven't seen it. That hasn't been displayed in this preseason yet. But he has a nice touch around the rim. He's going to get his moments, and I didn't really see any negatives around Goodwin the last couple of games, and we'll see a little bit of him tomorrow. But Chemezi Metu, a guy that I was really eyeballing and I really liked, and me and Gavin, when we had Gavin on not too long ago, it was either on here or on Suns Jam, we talked about Chemezi and stuff, and I thought he could be filling in that starting role because he was super athletic. His 3-point shot was on the up and up. I don't know who he was working with over the summer. I don't know if he was working with Lethal Shooter or any other shooting coach in the league, but it's fucking crisp now. He's a tweener. He is so big for a power forward, and he's the right size for a center, and he moves like a forward. It is so weird. He's a very athletic guy. His backdoor cuts are great. He didn't connect on most of them just because Saban Lee, he was staring at the floor dribbling, and you didn't see him cutting in. But Chemezi Metu, probably one of the most underrated guys that we picked up, and I've only seen a few people outside the Sun sphere give Metu his props and see what he's been doing because he's been great in my opinion.
Yeah. No, he's been good. His shots look good, and I think there. I mean, that's the thing. Like they keep saying, who's the starting five for the Suns? I think we as a fan base are more worried about that. I'm not concerned, man. I think we have options, especially if our game is to be defensive minded and push the ball, and then offense is secondary, just because we have so many lethal players on that side of the court. Like, let's do that. Let's do that. Mm-hmm. Like, we don't need to work it out. And that's kind of what the Lakers did when Frank Vogel, when they won the championship. Like, like, we'll just give the ball to LeBron and give the ball to AD and let them figure it out. It caused them problems in certain games in the playoffs because, like, you throw the ball to Kuzma or Caruso and, like, those guys could not deliver because, like, they weren't ready for it. But I think if the guy you're throwing to is, like, Eric Gordon or Bradley Beal, being like the full option, like I'm not concerned. I'm not concerned.
Yeah, I like my chances. And Okogie's like he's been great, and I know we've been kind of dogging on him over the summer just because we didn't think a 3-point shot would develop. I kind of fell in that as well. I thought Keita Bates-Diop would fill that role just nice. We haven't seen much positives from Keita Bates, but I think one, he hasn't been around like the best players. I mean, Saban Lee, he's been like the point guard. He's been sort of with the junkie players, and he played pretty decent last game. And when players join a new team, it takes a bit sometimes. And I see that with Keita. I see that with Bol. I see that with Udoka. So these guys are gonna find their footing. And what have your thoughts been with Jusuf Nurkic? Because we didn't really talk much about him when the trade happened. We heard the rumors before it actually happened, and we said we think we're good. But we did talk about it was a better fit before the trade happened. And even though we would have liked to see DA on full display with this team, because I do think DA would have worked in the system, but seeing what Nurkic can deliver is the strong suits that DeAndre Ayton didn't have.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts about it?
It was all pending if DA was bought in.
Yeah.
If he was bought in. He was bought in 2021. That was Monty's second season with the team. Maybe he had and you remember like those, like they would show like the like when the coach was mic'd up or DA was mic'd up and like you'd be talking to him, you'd be like convincing him. It was just convincing him. Like, you got to do this, man. You can do this. You can do this defensive role. And you could see DA was tired when he was talking to him. And I don't think he has a mindset, man. Like, I really wanted to work with DA. I really, really, really wanted it to work.
I did too.
But it was never going to happen. And I don't think it's ever going to happen anywhere he goes. Because just the way it all went down, and then what happened when he came back and just not really showing love to the organization. And honestly, it makes me feel like he requested the trade, to go somewhere. I don't think it was like we traded him. I think it was like 2 years of like, hey, we don't really believe in you. We didn't offer you the max. And then, and James Jones trying to trade him at the deadline a couple times. And then realizing that like he wanted to probably be out of here. I think that's what happened. And, is he happy? He says he is, but like when anybody says like, hey, I'm not thinking about my ex, they're thinking about their ex. You know what I mean? And he's fully thinking about the Suns and what happened. And you saw like the little clip where he's like, yeah, fuck the Suns or whatever he said. He's got issues with the Suns, and a lot of them can be understandable, but a lot of them's on him, man. Like Devin Booker was put in the same position. Like Devin Booker was put in and be like, okay, I have to be the point guard. I have to be the shooting guard with Chris Paul. Now I'm playing like he molded his entire like basketball style of play around whoever was around him. And DA did not do that. And yeah, he's very, very skilled, and that kind of talent is going to be wasted. I'm sorry, it's going to be wasted.
Yeah, like with DeAndre Ayton, I really wanted it to work. I mean, he was our number one pick, and I think to this day, I still think it was the right pick. I don't think Luka would have been good for this team. I feel like Devin would have definitely dipped. What we needed at that time was a center, and DeAndre Ayton was that guy. Some of it was the development and coaching's fault. I do blame Monty to a certain extent with how things transpired, especially if Gambo's tweets are true, that the beefs started during the Milwaukee series. If that was the case, then Monty's completely in the wrong, because if anybody was blaming DeAndre Ayton for that loss, just didn't watch the series.
No.
We lacked big men depth, but at the same time, I don't think DA was necessarily officiated correctly when it came to defending Giannis, and I just don't think refs know how to officiate Giannis. And we lost by like a average of like 3 or 4 points the last like 4 games, the 4 straight games that we lost. Like it was within a 5-point margin, so it came down to like a few plays in each of those games. It took Giannis.
Here's the difference, right? Like if you go back to 2020, you guys got to remember, like DA fucking bodied Jokic, bodied him. And and now Jokic is ascended beyond that, right? And he doesn't even need the foul calls. He doesn't need them. But like if DA got the calls that he got against Jokic, against Giannis, we easily win that series. Easily. Yeah. We gave up, what was it, like 23 free throws or something in game 6? Like in something ridiculous.
Giannis alone had more free throws than us, and then the Bucks had more free throws than the Suns.
Yeah. So like
it went both ways.
If he's officiated the same way that he was against Joker in that round, like we win the series easily. Jokic evolved into a player where he's like, okay, now I need to figure out how to. Some guys I can't body like that, so I got to figure it out how to move the ball or find a way to like do the little fadeaway shot, whatever it is. He built it into his game. That's what like we wanted to see from DA. Like, how do you evolve from this, right? Like, you can't blame the refs and you can't blame Giannis. You got to figure out on your own, how do I get better?
Yeah.
If I can't be better defensively, then I need to punish him offensively, right? Or I need to punish somebody offensively on their team, get them in foul trouble. Bobby Portis, Brook Lopez, whatever it is, something. And that's what all these greats do. And he's not a great player. He's not at that level. I really wanted him to be the next Patrick Ewing, the next Hakeem Olajuwon. He's so skilled. I love the dude as a person, but I think Nurkic, assuming that he stays healthy, makes absolutely like I don't think there would be a better fit that we could get unless it's like Victor Wembanyama, but that doesn't make. There's no way we're getting him.
Or Clint Capella. What this trade really annoyed, what really annoyed me about this trade was not necessarily people not being sold on Nurkic. I 100% get it, but it was like who was in the market really, right. Because Miles Turner, he's coming off one of his best seasons, just as a pacer in general. Why would he go anywhere? Clint Capella is under Quinn Snyder now, and the Atlanta team in the second half of the season looked like a competent team. Like they're on the up and up. You just go down the list. Every other center was locked up, secured. There's no signs of them moving. Brook Lopez re-signed.
Yeah, and it was a lot more money than anybody thought he was going to get. He got way more money.
Exactly. So, like, if the superstars wanted DeAndre Ayton gone, it doesn't matter. If DeAndre Ayton wanted to leave, it doesn't matter. If ownership wasn't sold on DeAndre Ayton, it doesn't matter. I think it's all three. I think everything that I just said could be right and all wrong. But I didn't want to go into another playoff run solely depending on what DeAndre Ayton was going to bring. He was either a hero or a zero. And if bringing in a guy like Nurkic, he's going to play his role when he's available. He's going to do whatever he can. and we know the limitations with Nurkic. We know like he doesn't have like the finesse that DeAndre Ayton has when it comes to scoring. Like DeAndre Ayton's scoring is incredible for his size. I mean, it's great, but what Nurkic is able to bring with his passing and his his quickness with processing plays and the offense and stuff, like you don't train that. You know, that's something that you have or you don't. That's what makes Jokic so great. Like he reads the court like nobody.
He reads the court like Jokic. He's not as good as
exactly
Jokic,
like
but
Jokic.
he looks at the court the same way. Like when you watch those two guys, if you put up a screen the way you and I are both on these two screens, if you put up Joker and Nurkic on the same thing, and you see what they do, the way that they one hand the ball and kind of bring it around, look for the cutter, they're doing the same thing. It's just one guy is the best player in the world, and another guy is kind of like his Walmart. He's a Walmart Jokic.
Yeah.
But he's not even that. He's kind of like a discount Walmart Jokic, like 50% in the bin that sits in the back or whatever. You know what I mean? In terms of like offense, right? In terms of offense.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. But it's like it's way better than what you get from DA because honestly, like a lot of his stats are like empty calories, man. The stuff that they've been saying about Book for years, when it comes down to it, like the best games that I've ever seen DeAndre Ayton play is when he had like, it wasn't like the 22 and 12 games. It was like the 9, 6, and 5 blocks, or like the game where I'm trying to remember the New Orleans game. I don't think he had like a big stat line. He had points, but it was all he dominated both sides of the court.
Yeah.
You know, with assists. And like those are the kind of games that you don't get from him very often. And that's a problem. Is that now, okay, if you can't do that, then you're the fourth guy. And if you're not, and the fourth guy has to play defense, set screens, good screens, dive to the rim, get offensive rebounds. If you're not down with that, then, you know, it doesn't work, especially at your salary.
That's where the conversation ends, you know, and like you can look at this as a salary dump, whatever. I think this was just a bad relationship that needed to die. And like I'm not going to like go back to what we said before the trade happened. Like it just seemed too close to the season to, you know, do it. But I think this is a better fit. I think this is better going forward, just with this team in general. And for DeAndre Ayton's sake, dude, like he can, you know, figure some shit out. I don't know, but we're past that. You know, I'm just glad we're not worried about what DeAndre Ayton is going to bring and him not getting his touches and him being disengaged and shit, because that shit just was getting fucking annoying.
Yeah.
It like you see it. You see Hakeem. You see Patrick Ewing in him, and it comes out in spurts. He was brilliant in that New Orleans series a couple years ago. He was great in the first time we played Denver. He was great in that Clipper series. Like we see it in him, but he just can't bring it out sometimes. And we need dependency to a certain extent. And I think that's what Nurkic can fulfill. And I mean, good luck to DeAndre. I love him. I think he's a great dude. I think he's pretty misunderstood. You know, I'm not gonna like boo, like if I go to a Portland game out here, like I'm not gonna boo him. I mean, he brought us good times and shit. I think it's pretty corny to do it, but he did his job and it just didn't work out here, you know. And like he was dependable when he was available. He did play, so I'm not gonna kill the guy, you know. And good luck to him and all of his endeavors and stuff. And you know,
for sure.
I just hope he just lets it die and he just keeps on moving forward because, you know, just for everybody's sake. But
honestly, man, don't call yourself dominating, man. Don't do that.
Yeah, he can stop with that. It doesn't help that he has it tattooed on him, you know. So.
It doesn't. I mean, if you don't do it, you don't like. What LeBron's got chosen one, right? Like, that's like facts. That's facts.
Yeah.
Like you're not the chosen one. You're not dominating. You're getting Dominurkic'd.
Nurkic, yes, that shit's so funny. But yeah, like I'm pretty sold on this team. I know we're gonna have to be making some roster cuts in the next upcoming days. I think it's gonna be Keon Johnson and maybe Bol. It might be Ish. I'm not exactly sure. We might use our final two-way spot on Ish. to keep him around. So I don't know. I honestly don't really care. I just hope we don't cut Damian Lee,
Yeah.
just because he's KD's friend, and it seems like everybody likes him. I like him, and he was great for us last season, and
Yeah.
I don't think that's good karma to cut him. But what have been your three standouts from the preseason? Just it could be offensive schemes, how the team looks,
Yeah.
certain players. Like what are your feelings?
Yeah. Again, so like I haven't watched a ton, but I'll just say this: like Book looks different. Like Book looks like he looks elite. Like he's always looked elite, but he looks different. There's something about it that it looks easier for him than it's
There's a
ever
different
been.
feel. Yeah.
Yeah. There's something different. And something tells me he's going to, if this team is in first place, he's going to be an MVP top 3. And I know he's been top 5 a couple times now, but I think he's trying to go for his MVP season this year. Like, I feel like, I just feel it, dude. There's something different about that dude. He's smoother. He's like we'll see when the games get competitive and if the refs don't give him calls on what he does and how he reacts to that, because that's always been his downfall. But I just feel like we're seeing something special coming this year from him. And I'm going to say that today, what is it, October 18th? I'm telling you right now, like Book's going to do something special this year. That's one thing. Second thing, Grayson Allen. Like, he's different. Like, this dude, he's not he's not Shamit. He's not Jay Crowder. I mean, he's given us things that I think we need, which is like scrappy defense. It's not in the elite level that you get from like Mikal Bridges, but you're getting at a guy that's never going to ask for you the ball. And I know Mikal doesn't ask for the ball. Now it's different because he's like,
the one of
the primary scorers. But like, I think it's just a natural fit. Third thing, I mean, it's got to be Beal. Like,
yeah.
I think people are sleeping on this dude because he's been injured the last 2 years and his efficiency dropped off. But like, he was a 30-point scorer on a shitty team for 2 years. Now, and remind you, like, he started his career playing with John Wall, right? So now he's back with playing. John Wall was a really good, excellent offensive player and a really good player all around. At his peak, he was like a top 10 player, but like, he's nothing like Booker or KD. So I think we're going to see something a lot different out of Beal. And I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised on what the outcome is. Because I really think, I know the Vegas odds for this team are like 52.5 on wins and losses. You know, I thought that was ridiculously low for this team. I would have probably set it like 55.5.
Yeah.
But considering injuries and rest and figuring out the rotation and also like matchups where they're like, you know what, if we're coming off a back-to-back, we got to play Denver. Maybe we're going to rest our guys. You know, it doesn't really matter right now. They don't need to see our best. So I still think this team is going to be a 55-win team. I think so.
I think so too. And some of the thoughts and key points that I've seen from this preseason is like the one concern that I have, one for like rebounding, but two is the one point that I haven't seen anybody necessarily bring up, and I don't know if it's a big issue or not, but it's just something to watch out for, is how is Frank Vogel gonna juggle all this talent, because we do have an abundance of it, and like he's sort of under the microscope when it comes to making this work, because in my opinion this team is loaded and I don't really see any excuses to why this wouldn't work and be one of the best teams in the league, just regular season by itself. So I think he has the chops for it. I think Kevin Young got restricted under Monty's system. I mean, it's reported that they butted heads and all. So I think we're going to see a lot of versatility with this team in general. But yeah, like to go off what you said about Booker, there's just a different feeling, man. Like His 3-point shot is a little different. It's very Kobe-esque. I hate to compare it to Kobe, but his shot arc is like a fucking dagger, and it's hitting the back of the rim and going right in. So if he perfected that, I mean, the league is probably in trouble. And if he's averaging 30 points, I do not want to hear about him having Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant on this team. Devin Booker has been the best player on the Suns since, like, since
2015.
since he's been drafted. So I'm not trying to hear about SGA, averaging 30 and like half of his points are free throws. Okay, like Devin Booker, if he's playing like this, he needs to be in the conversations, and that goes for anybody, any of the superstars really. I think Bradley Beal easily he can average 25 points a game effortlessly. And Devin Booker, if he's averaging 30 and Kevin Durant averaging between 25, 30, this team is going to be fucking lethal, dude.
I mean, first of all, just hear what you just said. We're talking about like three guys averaging at
almost
least
90 points.
Yeah,
together.
Like,
yeah.
That's just three guys. How like with everybody like and everything is easier for everyone. Like I don't understand how you're going to offensively. This is going to be probably one of the best offensive teams in the history of the NBA, easily.
Yeah, and like it's not going to be like an incremental statistic like, oh, they're like half a percentage point better than what Sacramento was last year, or like the pick and roll offense that Denver had. It's not going to be like an incremental thing like that. If this works, it's going to go down as like a top 5 best offenses ever, like period. It would go up there with 7 seconds or less. The 93 Bulls, the 2017 Golden State Warriors, like it's going to be up there.
Let me give you a stat real quick. So KD last year shot 59% on mid range, right? Which is like it's not a stat that they've gone back and recorded, but in terms of like current play, first of all, that's the highest percentage he's ever shot.
Yeah,
dude, who shoots 59% anywhere on the court?
No.
Nobody.
Except for the free throw line.
There's free throw line, and then there's like in the restricted space where like that's where props to DeAndre Ayton on that part where he shoots 70% or something or higher.
Great. Yeah.
Like this was last year. This wasn't like when he was with Golden State. Imagine what he's going to do with these guys.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be wild.
And to piggyback off of that, what my other point is with Kevin Durant. So I think this is going to be the most comfortable he's been in when it comes to who's coming in after him since Golden State, and probably even better than Golden State, because him playing that 3-4 role is either going to be Yuta coming in or Grayson or Metu, like these 3, 4, 5 guys that we have on the roster that come in after KD. If we're scoring at the rate that we are and we're getting the stops, we're gonna prolong this, this injury narrative more and more. It's gonna become thinner and thinner over time if we can continue to, produce at this team as much as possible. Because if we're banging on all cylinders, that means Kevin Durant can rest more. That means Book can rest more, and Beal can rest more, and Nurkic too. So like this whole team is built like insanely well, and we're gonna we're gonna get into like the narratives around this team, but like seeing how Kevin Durant's been to start the preseason and stuff, he's looked more and more like himself from before he got to the Suns, like hitting at 59% from the field type shit, like he might be a step slower. I don't give a fuck. He's still Kevin Durant. He's gonna shoot over everybody.
I'll take 80%. I'll take 80% Kevin Durant over like Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kyrie Irving, Luka. Like there's so many guys I'll take 80% because what that means is he's not doing the extra things. He's 7 feet tall, bro. He can shoot over anybody from anywhere on the court. He doesn't have to. He can just pull up for three every single time he gets the ball.
He doesn't have to necessarily create for himself anymore. Like Book and Beal got that.
He can stand in the corner.
Yeah, if he wanted to. Yeah. So, oh man, this team is going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
But like, it's my 3 key points is if Booker is going to continue to be on this trajectory, is Frank Vogel going to be able to juggle this, and if it's too much, because I think this team is a lot more talented than that Lakers team that won the chip a few years ago.
If you just go from the top side is way more talented.
Yeah. Even if you were to take off the top side, like the depth alone absolutely blows that Lakers team out the water. So if Frank Vogel can tackle this and be great at it, this team is going to go down as one of the best ever, period.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited to see this unravel. But we talked about a little bit about the narratives around this team, and this goes all the way back to the Beal trade and how people took it. And it was really negative, which I didn't really understand. But what's everything you've been listening to around this team with, preseason going on and stuff?
I mean, I guess the uneducated opinion was that now you got three players that don't know how to pass the ball. What's up, Voida? Happy belated, by the way.
Yeah, happy birthday, dude. Nice KD jersey, by the way. And
it's like, if you're saying that these 3 guys are ball hogs or they're not going to share the ball, then you haven't been watching basketball ever, because these are 3 playmakers, and it's not, even though and they're not playing in ISO the way that James Harden and Kyrie and KD played in. This is not the you go, I go, you, whatever. This is a team that is built on hey, I'm going to take the ball and then everyone's going to move, and we're just going to find out where the best opportunity is. And it may be a KD mid-range, or it may be Bradley Beal at the rim. But you cannot tell me that. And then the other thing that we hear is that this team has no bench. Okay, well that's totally uneducated, right? Like, you're telling me this team has not specifically targeted players that either overlap, either in position or flexibility in position, or flexibility in terms of skill set. Yuta, Grayson, these guys overlap. They can play multiple positions if they need to, and they do the same thing. And that's all you need them to do in terms of spacing for what the Suns are going to do. And then you have guys like Eric Gordon. The missing link that we didn't have last year was somebody off the bench that could be a playmaker and just an absolute bucket. Now we have that, right? And then on top of that, okay, defensively, we couldn't stop Jamal Murray. We couldn't stop Michael Porter. Okay, well, now we still brought back the same guys that are defensive players, and we added Jordan Goodwin on top of Okogie, right? So, I just see that this team is like built for the purposes of beating teams in the playoffs in whatever capacity they play in. Honestly, like from our 3-star players, I don't see liability on defense. Like these guys are accountable and they're going to play. And especially when you have KD, when you play him against another 7-footer and you have that sort of ability to have a secondary player that can come off and block shots, deflect balls, step in the paint. He's
going to be fine. He's not going to be a negative. So it's not even worth the conversation. Yeah.
No. Yeah. So I'm not that is like one of those things. I'm like, that narrative, you can throw that out the window. That means you're not paying attention. Other one, Nurkic gets hurt. Is he ever going to play? Well, again, I went back to it. Last season, they shelved him because the team was tanking. I think in the last couple of years, they've shelved him too. So you can't really judge what he's done. If you're going to say that, then at the same time, then you have to say, well, then now he's rested. And he's not going to play the same amount of minutes that he played versus, in Portland. He was playing I think 32 minutes a game in his peak in Portland. I think the Suns are probably going to expect him to play 26, 28. I'm expecting we're going to see different small ball fives, maybe KD. We didn't really see it with Monty, and I feel like that's on Monty.
That was 100%. That was a blunder. Yeah.
Yeah, because you need to put KD at the 5 and just torch teams. And then even if you have Eubanks or if you put, hopefully Ish is still on the team at a small ball five position. Like, I think we have options to do that. So I'm not concerned about that. That, like, if you're telling me Nurkic always gets hurt, well, let's go around the league and talk about Porzingis. Let's talk about Kyrie. Is it injury? Is it COVID? Is it family, personal leave? Let's talk about Kawhi and Paul George, right? James Harden, what's he doing? Where's he?
Mm-hmm.
Ben Simmons. These are, these are like, I'm talking about fringe guys. We're talking about like the core guys, right? Like, we can go back and look at the Lakers. LeBron, you expect AD says he's going to play 82 games. I'll put $1 million that he doesn't play 82 games this season. 1 million.
I'll put my house up straight up.
Yeah, I'm going to Vegas. I'm going to Vegas. I had to put my mortgage up to do that, but I would put $1 million on that fool not playing 82 games.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, everything you said and a million more. Like, the Bill Simmons comment, I don't really give a fuck about. Okay, so these East Coast guys, okay, most of sports media is centered in the East Coast, and that requires them to stay up late, super late, to watch these Western teams. I completely understand not fully understanding what's going on with Utah or Memphis or any of these fucking teams. But if we're talking about contenders, you need to be watching them. And if it's your job, you gotta watch them. And I know ESPN and Fox and any other news outlet you can think of, they force them to watch Laker games because Laker games are priority, Golden State games are priority, and you can only watch so much basketball, especially if you're covering other sports and shit. But the Phoenix Suns, they've been one of the most winningest teams the last 3-4 seasons.
Yep.
Like, you need to watch him. Like, you gotta stop sleeping for one. Bill Simmons, he's a Boston homer. I expect to hear dumb shit from him every now and then. Boston fans are resilient. They will never admit when they're wrong. But the Bradley Beal, like, if you put him in Shamit's position, doesn't really change anything. It absolutely does. Because we probably win game 2. We probably don't get blown out of game 6. And who's to say we don't win game 7? You know, if you just want to play hypotheticals, because we're 0 and 1 million when it comes to hypotheticals, talking to other fan bases.
I just, like,
I don't get the thinking. I don't
comparing
understand.
Shamit to Bradley Beal. That's like Shamit. Okay, if you go back and remember that, Shamit hit a few threes, I think, in one game to make it closer, but we still lost. He was a deer in headlights. Yeah. We're not talking about like a guy that's played in the playoffs, that's been a number 1 player on his team, that's been a number 2 player to like a Westbrook in the playoffs. Like, we're talking about a seasoned veteran, a dude that is legit. Like, this, I would, if you took away the skill level and you just looked at their experience, Bradley Beal and Eric Gordon are the same dude. They're experienced vets. These are guys you want on your team. If you put the talent level back in there, if you're telling me Shamit and Bradley Beal are anything anywhere close to being, Shamit might be out of the NBA after this season. Like,
yeah,
talking about, bro? Bradley Beal is being paid like $50 million a season. There's a reason he's getting paid that much money. People just, they don't give that money to Shamit. No one gives $50 million to Shamit.
Voida said here, only scary thing is Nerf becomes a targeted defensive liability. I have a counterpoint to this. Like, I don't think we're going to be closing with Nurk. It's going to be Drew Banks. It's going to be fucking Udoka or even Chemezi, you know? Like, we might not even close with Nurkic. And that probably means that we're up by like 30. I mean,
even if we aren't, and even if they're targeting him, dude, this is what they did against Portland. Like, they always targeted Nurk. And I'm not saying he did. He's
a good rim protector. I mean, like, Nurk isn't going to be switched all the way up to the fucking wing like Monty let Biz and DeAndre Ayton and Kaminsky, like letting Luka and Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton bring out these centers and just like cook them. Like, that isn't going to happen with Nurk because he's going to keep his ass in the post, because
Well,
that's his fucking position. That ain't gonna happen.
Well, I can't speak on Kevin Stotts and like the other coaches in Portland, but he did get pulled out. Like they did try to pull him on, isolate him. But the thing is that the defensive players that were on that team, going back to that, what I'm thinking of, it was, CJ McCollum, Damian Lillard, not great defensive players. I think they had Reggie Trent, who's a pretty good defensive player, sort of a Jay Crowder type. And then the other two guys I can't remember. But either way, like the defensive players that will be on the court with Nurkic, if he gets pushed out, I'm not concerned.
Yeah, the playoffs is a different story. But
I'm talking about the playoffs. I'm
talking
talking specifically about the playoffs. It was a defensive liability for that Portland team, but that Portland team was not built like the Suns were.
Yeah, defense was not a priority for those Portland teams, and I don't think Nurkic prioritized it either. Good thing that Nurk is a good rim protector. If anybody tries running at him, I kind of like our chances in that regard. I just hope he has a good first step when it comes to contesting these shots, and as long as he's not getting rotated onto all the way to the 3-point line, I like our chances, because I don't think we were better at defense than the Nuggets last year, pre and post trade deadline, even when we went significantly down in depth. So I'm not worried about how our starting five is going to be, and especially our bench, because our bench, I think, is going to be one of the best defensive benches like in the league.
I think that's how guys are going to get minutes. I really 100%. Do. Like, I don't think it's about like how many shots you make. It's going to be how many defensive plays you make and how many shots you take. Like, if you get the ball, swing seat, you got to take it. I think that's what Grayson Allen and Chimezi and even Okogie. Like, it's not about the makes. It's the fact that you have to be willing to take it or figure out a way to get to the rim. Because we need your defensive presence on ball and then team. Like, that's what this team is built on, especially when we go deep into like the season where a lot of guys are resting or injured or whatever have you. Like, we're going to rely on that.
Yeah, totally agree. And you probably saw the Nick Wright thing. I mean, it goes into the same thing with that Shaman fucking comment. Okay, like, I'm not really going to address it like that. It's just flat out stupid, but it shows like what the narratives have been around this team. And you watch, other, NBA YouTube creators talk about the depth of the team and injury concerns and this and that, is book elimination games, Kevin Durant, super team. Like, there's so much nuance and like ignorance when it comes to talking ball with people sometimes. And I'm not trying to act like I'm like the ball god, but just fucking read, like, watch these games. Like, like, listen, talking to Boston, I was talking to a Boston fan today, and he was talking about Boston's 5 versus the Suns 5, which I'm willing to have that conversation.
I saw that. I didn't interact, but I saw what happened. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's like we can talk about depth because like the Suns beat every team in depth, but talking about like what Tatum did to Kevin Durant a couple seasons ago in the playoffs, like that whole year Brooklyn was injured. They barely had any time to play together. Harden was gone. It was only Kyrie and Kevin Durant, and outside of those two, there was no offensive creation. Like, you can literally draw a parallel to the Suns in that Dallas series. Like, if you just fucking double book and just make DeAndre Ayton completely irrelevant, there's no offensive creation. It's literally the same fucking series. I mean, when you don't have more than 2 guys that can put the ball up, and it doesn't help that we had an aging point guard that hesitated on 3-point shots and, just sometimes just didn't start playing until like the bottom half of the fourth quarter. Like, it's easy to tackle that as a coach, especially if you're defensive minded. And that's exactly what Boston did. And I give them credit for that. They made that series fucking hell for Kevin Durant and the Brooklyn Nets. It's not rocket science. I mean, Jason Tatum didn't do anything special. I mean, he delivered, but he still has as many rings as, the Phoenix Suns and like every other team that has a 1 in the last 5 years, Like, Boston's been like in the running since 2017. They've been in the playoffs just about every year, and they've had chances to win chips and shit. Drew Holiday. There's a reason why they traded Drew over Chris Middleton. Drew lacks in certain areas. He's a great on-ball defender. Don't get me wrong. Like you look at Milwaukee and Boston, like those two are going to end up going against each other. And us being on the West Coast, that's best case scenario because we're only going against one of those teams. I like our chances a lot more against Boston because they have fucking no depth. I don't give a fuck about Peyton Pritchard. I don't give a fuck about Sam Hauser. They're good players, but they don't intimidate me whatsoever. So I'm watching for that team around the trade deadline. But with Milwaukee, great move for Dane. It like perfect fit. Basketball sense, it makes complete sense. Outside of that starting five, Jay Crowder, Bobby Portis, Mochamp, like what are we talking about here? You know, like, and you go to Denver, they probably found another guy like Strother. He looks like a good pickup for them, but I'm not banking on Christian Brown to fill what Bruce Brown did last year. I'm not banking on Justin Holiday and Reggie Jackson to, elevate,
He didn't even play for them last year in the playoffs.
Yeah, he didn't play whatsoever. And you go to every contender, and there's more and more questions with those contenders, and there's less and less with this Phoenix Suns team. And these media people just don't address that. And I get, there's points, and I sound like a crazy person, but like this team is going to be really fucking good. And at the end of the year, they're going to act like, yeah, they've been the best team, like we've been saying it, and they're not going to be saying it. They're going to say it's the Lakers. They're going to say it's Boston. They're going to say it's Milwaukee, and it's fine. Like as long as it comes with a chip, I'm not going to be complaining. But it's just.
I mean, look, dude, it's like this. Like guys like any of these guys.
Bull is ass, but what is the expectations? Everybody got to chill on Bull. Like
everyone's excited.
People,
dude. You if you compare Bull to like Victor Wembanyama, it's like, what are we doing, dude? Like, why is this guy in the league? What's his place? Like, he's not a point guard, he's not a center. What does he do well? We don't know. We still don't know, right? But going back to your point, I mean, look, dude, like none of these guys watch the Suns like we do. Yeah. We know this team. We know we can specifically call out like when a player does something like he doesn't normally do that. Why did he do that? Like we know their tendencies so well. We know the team so well. So
we saw the hitch in Mikhail's fucking 3-point shot,
right?
And we killed him for it, and then he fucking fixed it, and then he was all like, and it was better. Yeah. We know.
everything, right? So like when somebody talks about the Suns and they're specific on like, oh well, these players don't, they're talking on their ass. It's like the same way if like you and I went onto a Denver Nuggets podcast and they asked us about Christian Brown. Like, I saw what I saw in the playoffs. That's all I know about that guy. I don't know anything else about him other than when he played the Suns that 3 or 4 times. And I didn't even watch all those games because a lot of times we were injured. And when Devin Booker or DA or Chris Paul didn't play, I didn't watch a game. So I couldn't even tell you anything about that guy other than what I saw in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So it's like these guys are just making up shit and they have to make up stuff to make a conversation. But I think it would make more sense for these national media people to hype up the Suns as a super team rather than to like be like, yeah, we don't know about these guys. Because you're talking about Devin Booker, top 3 in jersey sales. You're talking about Kevin Durant, one of the greatest and most popular players of all time. And then, a guy like Bradley Beal who, has probably a regional, like popular sort of fan base, but like if you put those 3 guys together, you're talking about like Heatles type stuff. Like it really is that level. Like, I don't think people understand what type of 3 that these guys are together. And it's like being underrated across the board from everyone.
Mm-hmm. This Phoenix Suns team is going to make a lot of people look stupid, in my opinion. And I don't think it's going to be Phoenix Suns fans that are going to be looking stupid. Yeah. Like we created a 3-year window, and if Kevin Durant goes rogue and he's not here after a season or 2, we still have Bradley Beal on lock. We still have Devin Booker, and we traded a max contract and split it in half, and now we have a bunch of tradable assets that we can, mess around with down the line. And we have all these guys on minimums, and we can bring a good amount of these guys back if we wanted to, because we have their bird rights. We gave them guaranteed money, and fucking probably Matt Ishabus paying their mortgages. Just sweeten up the pot a bit. I mean, like, I think this team is in a very stellar spot. The way that this team is being perceived is so weird to me. I don't understand it. Like, I watch a good amount of ball. I'm not gonna claim that I watch every team, but dude, like, I saw Yuta three times last season, and when he wasn't even on our radar, and just watching him play, I'm like, he's good, and he'll be a good player on any contender. And the way that people talk about, Yuta, like, from an outside perspective, like, even before we got him, it was just like, oh, he's like a whatever player, and like, what do you know? Like, he's like great for us, like, already, like Grayson Allen too. I'm like, I'm not saying I just have like this like gut feeling about players and stuff, because I mean it's been off at times, but like, it's not hard to see like this depth being as good as it is. Like, even with the Nazir Little pick, if he doesn't pan out, we still have Eric Gordon, we still have Grayson, we still have Yuta, we still have Drew Banks. Like, Drew Banks was like the best backup center like last season statistically. I think he was like top 3 or whatever. Don't quote me on that. But like, we're just so deep, and then we're top heavy, and then we're deep. Which you look through the bowels of NBA history and team construction. Like, it's Golden State, that 2017, 2018 team, and then the 93 Bulls. That matchup with the talent level that this Phoenix Suns team has this year.
Yeah, I mean, I would throw a couple. I would throw the Heatles in there, and I would throw that Boston 2018 KG, Ray Allen, and Paul Pierce.
I'll probably throw one of the San Antonio teams in there too.
You could throw one of those in there too.
Yeah.
I mean, but the difference is, like, if you go back to the San Antonio and the Boston team, well, first of all, that Boston team was the first Big Three construction that won in the first year. So Heatles didn't win the first year. Lakers with their construction of their Big Three with LeBron and all those guys didn't win the first year. Most of these teams don't win in the first year. That Boston team did, because they were bought in defensively, and the offense sort of figured out. Well, what are we doing with the Suns team? We're building on defense. Offense figured it out. Granted, it's not the same thing where you have like a big guy like AG and you have a couple of perimeter wing players. Here we're talking about like 3 straight wing players, but defense has changed in the NBA. The way it's played is different. So, it is what it is.
100%, John. Like, we are the Suns. There is a fucking curse that dwindles, like, across the valley and stuff. Like, we fully acknowledge that, and we're fully prepared for it, and that's what makes this even more exciting, just because we haven't had an opportunity like this in Arizona sports history. We've never had a team like this before, and just through any Arizona sport. And this might be the turn of a tide. The Diamondbacks are decent now. The Cardinals are having a pretty nice little rebuild going on, and then we got the fucking Phoenix Suns, top 3 team in the league. Milwaukee has to prove it with Dame. Dame hasn't looked entirely good with them yet, but whatever. But I'm very excited to watch this Phoenix Suns team kick into action on Tuesday against Golden State. We're going against fucking Chris Paul and Dario Saric, Phoenix Suns legends. And then we play the Lakers right after that. And then the home opener is on the 28th against the Jazz, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to that game. This is going to be a very exciting season, and I can't wait to pump out more and more content around this Phoenix Suns team. There's going to be a lot of things to watch out for. I think this season it's kind of anybody's to win and anybody's to lose. I could definitely see some upsets happening. I think the West is pretty loaded when it comes to teams that can upset you. Minnesota looked pretty decent in the playoffs last season. The Lakers, they stacked up on more talent. Yeah, you just go down the line. Even Sacramento, people have been giving Sacramento some shit like, oh, they were really healthy last year, and it's probably not going to replicate, which they're probably right, but the Nuggets were extremely healthy last year, and no really bats an eye. Uh, but I'm super excited to watch this NBA season. There's so many crazy things happening right now. I don't really give a fuck where James Harden goes. I don't think it's really going to affect how, I don't think it's going to affect us like that, really. I'm glad we turned the page in the DeAndre Ayton saga and closed that book completely, because we can move on and not, predicate our finals or playoff losses on, a center that we don't know if he's going to bring it every night. We're loaded on talent. I'm so excited to see this team. And I know you are too, Amit. And Evan having a new kid, he's going to be shouting quietly, holding his kid and watching these games. And we're going to be, pumping out as much content as possible. But did you have any closing thoughts before we get out of here? I have like one more homework thing to do, and then I got to go to the gym. So.
Yeah, no, as across the league goes, like I think the tier, in my opinion, the top tier of the league in terms of championship, it's one of these teams are going to win either because of injury, because they're healthy, or an injury, whatever. Like the three teams.
The team is fucking nasty in 2K, dude. I was running them. I loaded up the roster. I constructed it completely. Dude, I was winning fucking games by like 80. And I get it's a game, but dude, this team is fucking nasty. But keep going. Sorry.
The cheat code. So three teams, right? I think it's the Bucks, I think it's the Nuggets, and I think it's the Suns. After that, you have a couple teams that are in the next tier. I would say the Lakers, probably Boston, Miami, but they're always like, depending on what happens, they're in the playoffs, not the regular season. But like after that, like I know there's a lot of parity in the league. There's a lot of teams that are that are up and coming, but when it comes, like I just don't see how you don't put the Suns in championship contention based on like how this team is constructed. That's all I'm going to say. I'm saying that now. October 18, 2023 at 10:40 p.m. on the Pacific time. I'm saying that the Suns are championship contenders.
Absolutely. And if anyone bats an eye at that, is they just need to watch ball a little bit more. I'm really glad we did this. I really wanted to get something out before the season kicked off on Tuesday because, our schedules are pretty crazy. But when is your basketball tournament? And how many games are you playing?
Yeah, so I play 2 games on Saturday. It's in Vegas at Jerry Tarkanian Academy, or whatever the place is called. It's a little bit north of the Strip. I'm getting on Friday, hoping to play some blackjack. Then I'm trying to keep it somewhat low key for games on Saturday. If we win both games and the point differential is good, then hopefully we don't have to play in the play-in game. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to play 4 games if we make it to the championship round on Sunday, which is at like 4 p.m. or 4 or 5 p.m. The expectation of my squad is that we should be going to the championship round. The only thing is, like, we lost a couple guys at injury, so our depth is really – we're only rolling with, like, 7 guys. So that's our concern. Potentially 6 if another guy can't make it. So, like, that's the only thing is that holding me back is that we don't have depth to make it all the way through. But, obviously, hopefully I got a second place trophy. That's all the way back from 2019 because of COVID. The tournament hasn't been around. Hopefully I can put a first place trophy next to that one.
That'd be cool. I would love to see it back there.
Go Lions. Wade is out there.
But I'm so glad we did this. I really wanted to get a podcast out in preparation for the season, man. And I can't wait to hit the ground running and stuff. And I have some personal things planned for not only this channel, but for other possibilities, going forward. That I would love to share, but that's in the future. But Evan's going to be coming back.
And if you guys haven't been checking it out, Evan's been dropping some like video rewinds on.
Sunday. Rewinds have been great.
Because it's good content.
Yeah. So definitely check that out. And
He's on fire on the Twitter pod, and I think it's on YouTube as well, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Right.
So, check out the timeline guys. They're great with their analysis and all that stuff. Check out PHNX. Flex is on there now. He's been great filling in that what they needed, and then listen to all these.
Don't forget Voida, bro. He's in the chat.
Too. I know. Yeah, I'm fucking losing my voice here, but yeah, Prince Jam, the goats.
The goats, dude. The number ones every day there. Just check them out after every game.
First listen. Yeah, so I hope to be on some shows. We should, hopefully John and Matt have both of us on to join a show sometime this season and then make that work and all. But
that's going to be a 4-hour show.
I know, yeah. We can just talk shit for a whole night. Yeah. But, man, I can't wait. Good luck with your tournament. Keep us in the loop with everything, and we'll stay in touch with everybody, man.
All right. Peace out, man.
Peace out. Have a good one, y'all. Go Suns, man.